Welcome to the latest Ask the Leader during the coronavirus crisis, and thank you to all those who sent in questions via social media for me to respond to today. I hope to be able to give you answers to what you've asked. So first of all, we had a few questions from Jean, Christine and Jenny on how Oldham will react to the next phase of the crisis. And they have particular concerns about social distancing and our borough having one of the highest infection rates in Greater Manchester. Well, we've known since the beginning of the crisis that the timing of the peak varies from region to region, and we knew that we were a few weeks behind London here in Greater Manchester. And here in Oldham, we believe that we've only just come through our first peak, where that happened a couple of weeks ago in London. But recently we've placed a huge emphasis on testing for that reason. We want to know who's got it, who should be isolated, and how we can respond to the numbers of people that have contracted coronavirus the best. And inevitably, when you start doing more testing, you find more people that are testing positive. And so that explains some of the numbers that we've seen here in Oldham. The good news is though, that the number of deaths in Oldham from the virus now appears to be falling. But it remains really important that we still observe the guidelines set out by the government on working from home as much as possible where you can, on reducing the number of times that you leave the house, on observing social distancing of 2 metres where you do have to leave the house, and washing hands regularly for 20 seconds or more. And that's the best way that we can help to reduce the spread of the virus and come through this crisis more quickly. The second question was from Aaron about littering. And I think during this crisis we've seen how clean our streets really can be, because more people are going out there and walking around their local area when previously they might have travelled to go for exercise, and so people are seeing some of the hidden landscapes of Oldham that we might not have appreciated before, and I include myself in that. We've been doing more walking in the local area as part of our daily exercise. But unfortunately people do still litter. Aaron's highlighted a particular issue with people littering from cars. But what is really positive is that Aaron has reported that he has let the council know about the incidents that he's observed. And where there is evidence contained within the fly tipping or littering that's taken place, the council will pursue a prosecution against those that are guilty of it. So anybody out there, as disappointing and frustrating as it is to observe fly tipping and littering, please do report it to the council, and where there's action that we can take, we will take it and see those people in court. The third question from Jenny on Twitter, who asked about the reopening of schools and what the council's position is. Well, 99% of schools in the borough have remained open throughout the crisis to provide places for the children of key workers or for the most vulnerable children out there in our communities. And I want to say a thank you to all of the teaching staff and the support staff at the schools that have enabled that to be possible. I know that even during what would have been the school holidays, schools have remained open to provide those places. And we're very grateful as a borough to the people that have enabled that to happen, so that those key workers can continue to go and do their jobs in the NHS, in public transport or other public services, and really support our society through this crisis. So thank you to them. We have seen in the announcement by the Prime Minister that there will be a phased reopening of schools, but we are awaiting guidance on exactly how to do that and what exactly that looks like. And where the council has a role in reopening local schools, we will be looking to work with partner organisations, the schools themselves and the teaching unions and staff to make sure that we can do that as safely as possible. So we will support primary and secondary schools to reopen in the way that they are being asked to by the Prime Minister, in a way that is safe as much as possible. Jenny has also asked about access to the NHS for people with medical needs that are not related to coronavirus. Now, as our Chief Clinical Officer in Oldham said, the NHS remains open. So if you have an issue that you would normally raise with your GP during non-coronavirus crisis times, or you would normally attend A&E for, then you must still do so. You must seek the help that you require. We're actually seeing a lower level of demand on health services not related to coronavirus. And so please do not feel guilty or be deterred from contacting your local health services if you really need to do so. You can still access GP services who are providing consultations via the phone or even via Skype in some cases. and A&E is still open if you need to attend there. So the NHS remains open, and if you need to access it, you really should. Jessica on Facebook has asked what we're doing to support our younger residents during this time. So for those children who are not in school, we've supported them to access learning online, and we're working with schools to provide more of their learning online too. We're helping get information on education out to parents via our social media channels and our other communications channels. And this has been really important, particularly to preschool age children, because we've seen that many of our nurseries have had to close during this period. Another thing that's happened right across Greater Manchester, which sits within my brief at the city region level on skills and digital, is that we have provided kits to those young people who are most digitally excluded. And what that means is we've provided laptops or Wi-Fi dongles or whatever is appropriate to help young people who don't have that kind of kit normally to get online and access learning whilst they're at home rather than at school. And I know that there are a number of families and households in Oldham that have accessed that scheme and have now got access to the internet and to laptops where they previously didn't. Our youth service delivering a 7-day-a-week digital youth work programme of activities. That includes group sessions, one-to-one support and live feed activity sessions. They're working with new and creative ways to support young people and providing good activities, because we really need to ensure that young people's well-being is looked after during this crisis. You know, there's particular pressure on people's mental health when they're having to remain indoors much more than they would usually. Other organisations like the excellent Madlow have also been supporting with activities and giving out activity packs to young people, which I know has gone down really well. And we've also got some of our youth workers undertaking community outreach. So they're in the cars and following social distancing, but they're going out and talking to young people out in the community and explaining to them how it is important that they remain safe during this crisis. We've had a number of questions come in about the support that we're providing for local businesses, so thank you to Faisal, Peter, Aaron and Jackie. As many people will know, we've been given money by the government, which we give out to businesses in the form of grants to support them through the crisis and ensure that they remain afloat and can bounce back once we come through the coronavirus pandemic. And as of the 11th of May, we've processed 3,193 business grants, which total in excess of £36 million. So we continue to process thousands and thousands of pounds worth of support every day. But we do know that there are still many businesses out there that have not applied for the support that they're eligible to. So please do apply if you're eligible. And if you know any businesses, through friends, family or contacts, please encourage them to fill in the web form on the council website and access the support that's on offer. Peter's asked about the discretionary grant, which will target small businesses with ongoing fixed property related costs. But we're still waiting for details from the government on this. But as soon as we do get them, which we're hoping to get them this week, there'll be information on our website. What we've done in Oldham as well is also set up a discretionary local fund to support businesses, because we know that some of the government schemes that have been announced leave some gaps for certain types of businesses that haven't been offered that kind of support. So locally, we know how important the business community are to support in the borough, and we are looking to see if we can provide some local support ourselves for businesses that aren't eligible for any of the government grant schemes. Jackie asked why business support loans are being paid to different businesses that occupy the same building. Well, business support loans are arranged between the bank and the business, and cash grants are paid to businesses which are registered for non-domestic rates. So you can have more than one business operating in one building. You know, I know in shop units, not around where I live in Failsworth, that sometimes there is one business operating a retail use on the ground floor, whilst the upper floor is used for office space. And so often there are multiple businesses occupying the same building, and it's perfectly normal for that to happen. And those businesses as individual organisations are eligible for the grant schemes. In the longer term, we are working closely with the other 9 Greater Manchester councils on a recovery plan though. We estimate that around 90% of businesses have been affected by coronavirus, and we know that more than 280,000 people have been furloughed and are accessing income through the furlough scheme. So we're developing a recovery plan to support people back into work and to support businesses to get up and running again whilst implementing appropriate social distancing measures at work so that they can do that safely. But also in the medium to long term, we need to know what kind of support businesses will need to continue to remain afloat. And so we know that it will likely be quite a challenging environment for a number of months even after the crisis, but we're working really closely with businesses, with our public sector partners and with other councils across Greater Manchester to make sure that we tailor the right form of support for all of the organisations and continue to have a vibrant economy here in Oldham and beyond in the future. We've had a question, or more an offer, from Lucy on Twitter, who is from Fair Share in Greater Manchester, who are doing a fantastic job in supporting places like Oldham Food Bank. And she's asked how she can reach out and support more organisations in Oldham. So thank you so much for your kind offer, Lucy. The support that you and other organisations in Oldham have been offering to the people during this time has been really, really valuable and provided so much support to people that otherwise would have been struggling. There are too many organisations to mention them all, but in particular, Oldham Food Bank, Age UK, Action Together, our schools have done a fantastic job in supporting the borough through this crisis. Together so far, we've helped provide emergency food and household supplies to over 3,500 people. But in the particular case that Lucy's highlighted, a member of our team will be in touch with you, Lucy, if they've not been already, to discuss how you can offer further support. The next question is following the Q&A that I did a couple of weeks ago. A few people are asking about council tax reduction because they will have seen reported the hardship fund and the hardship fund that has been announced to provide £150 credit to the council tax accounts of those in receipt of council tax reduction. So this is a national scheme and we've been given £3 million towards providing that credit to people in receipt of council tax reduction by the government. Every local authority has been provided with this, and this is targeted at the most vulnerable households and those on the lowest incomes. By its very nature, it is a hardship scheme, of course. Some people have asked why we cannot provide a council tax holiday. Legally, we have to collect all the council tax that is owed to us, so unless there is a change in law, we cannot do that. Or unless the government provides us with money to extend crediting people's council tax accounts beyond those that were already in receipt of council tax reduction, we still need to collect the council tax that is owed to the council. However, if you are having difficulty paying, then there are a range of options available to you around payment plans. So you could potentially not pay in April, May and June, and you could pay your council tax over 9 months beginning in July, if that will be helpful to you. But if you are struggling to pay council tax, get in touch with the council tax team at the council and they will talk you through the range of options that are open to you. Finally, there was a couple of questions about councillor salaries and expenses, and there seems to be some confusion about something that's been announced to support MPs to support their own offices to work from home more during this crisis, and about whether that applies to me and my colleagues on the council. But in short, council employees and councillors continue to be paid in common with everybody else who has continued to work during this crisis. If you're still doing your job, I think it's right that you continue to be paid, and that's why all council employees and councillors are continuing to be paid. I don't think anybody reasonably would expect anything different. In reality, the workload of many councillors and council employees has increased because of the demands that the crisis is placing on the communities and on their time. So again, demands on councillors and council staff's time has increased, and they continue to be paid for doing the jobs that they were doing prior to the crisis and are still doing now. One of the questions was around the £10,000 increase in the potential expenses that MPs can claim towards the running of their offices, because many MPs will be seeing increased costs for the running of their offices through having to provide more IT equipment or whatever it might be to their staff to work from home. I think that's appropriate, but it does not apply to me or to any of the councillors. We are not MPs. And of course, that scheme is only claimable if you submit an appropriate claim to demonstrate that you have suffered an increase in costs due to the coronavirus pandemic. So it's not just a payment of £10,000 anyway, but I cannot be any clearer about this. I'm not eligible for it, and neither are any of the other councillors on Oldham Council. In terms of the costs that I incur personally, I've not incurred any increased costs through having to work from home. The council has not had to provide me with any additional equipment in order to continue doing my job. The laptop sat in front of me is the one that I had prior to the coronavirus crisis, and I was using to work from home when I did that anyway, and so I've not had any additional equipment or support, and I continue to do my casework as normal. I have been asked as well whether I've been supporting the volunteer effort during this crisis. I have been volunteering at Oldham Food Bank. On Thursday morning is my shift where I go and do picking for the emergency food parcels, or I go out and drive deliveries to people that have applied for an emergency food parcel. So I spend 3 hours on a Thursday morning volunteering at Oldham Food Bank